Ever feel like you're trying to hold water in your hands? You absorb something new, maybe a fascinating article or a helpful presentation, but then it just vanishes.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling is so common, like pouring information into a sieve.
Exactly, a sieve. And you're definitely not alone in that. So this deep dive, we're tackling a really fundamental challenge, how to actually remember what you learn.
Right. Whether it's for work, study, or just, plain curiosity.
Precisely. And that frustration when knowledge fades.
Mhm.
We've all been there. You put in the effort, and it's disheartening when it feels so fleeting.
It really is.
And that's exactly why we're digging into this today. Our chat is sparked by some really practical insights from a YouTube video by Saidun. He talks about effective memory techniques.
Yeah, I saw that one. He presents a surprisingly straightforward approach, doesn't he? To sort of combat that forgetting problem.
He really does. What struck me was his focus on a method that isn't about working harder, but like you said, smarter.
Yeah.
Working with how our memory naturally functions.
And doing it in a way that, crucially, respects our time. It's not asking for hours and hours.
Right. So imagine actually retaining more of what you read, what you learn, feeling that genuine confidence that comes with, true understanding.
Boosting your success, your effectiveness.
Exactly. This deep dive, we think, offers a surprisingly simple, maybe even ingenious method to get there.
And right at the heart of this ingenious method is a really key concept, something called the forgetting curve.
Okay, the forgetting curve. Let's unpack that. It sounds a little intimidating.
It does sound a bit ominous, yeah. But understanding it actually gives you a real edge. You see, way back, late 1800s.
Oh, wow. Way back.
Yeah, between about 1880 and 1885, a psychologist studying memory made this key discovery. He found forgetting isn't this slow, gradual decline. It's actually, it's rapid, especially right at the beginning.
A rapid drop-off. So less like a slow leak and more like pulling the plug out.
That's a great way to put it, exactly. The research indicated that within just 24 hours, just one day, you can lose, get this, anywhere from 50 to 80% of what you just learned.
50 to 80% in a day.
Yep. Think about it. You spend an hour taking in new info, and by the next day, puff, you might only recall a tiny fraction.
That's sobering. And I assume it doesn't stop there. It keeps declining.
It does, unfortunately. After about a week, retention can fall even further. Some studies suggest you might be down to having lost maybe 90% of the original stuff.
90% loss after a week.
And the curve keeps going down. Eventually, maybe after a month, you could be left with only 2 or 3%, or maybe even nothing. Complete memory loss of that specific thing.
Wow. Okay. That paints a pretty stark picture. Now, I can hear someone thinking, hold on, this research is like over a century old. Is it really still relevant today?
That's a fair question, a really important one. And the answer is a definite yes. It absolutely still holds up.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with computers, the internet, everything.
Yeah. Because while how we find information has changed dramatically, the basic mechanics of how our brains form and hold on to memories, that hasn't fundamentally changed much. Understanding this basic curve is still key to optimizing learning.
Okay. So it's still fundamental. If we know forgetting happens so quickly, what can we actually do about it? This is where it gets practical, right?
Absolutely. This is the good part. The real power isn't just knowing we forget, it's knowing when that memory dip is steepest. That knowledge lets us be incredibly strategic.
Strategic review.
Yeah.
And this leads to spaced repetition, doesn't it? I've heard that term.
Exactly that. Spaced repetition is the key. It's how you actively push back against that natural forgetting curve. It's not about cramming. It's not constant review until you drop. It's about reviewing information at specific timed intervals, timed perfectly to counteract that forgetting process just when it's about to happen.
Okay, so tell us about these intervals. What does spaced repetition look like in practice if I learned something today?
Right. So the method outlined, and it's backed by lots of research since the original discovery, points to 3 main review times. The first one is critical within 24 hours of first learning something.
Okay, within a day, how long do I review for?
Just about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. That seems surprisingly short.
That does, but that's the beauty of targeting that initial really sharp decline. A quick refresh within that first day makes a huge difference in what sticks.
Makes sense. Okay, so review 1. Within 24 hours, 10 minutes, what's next?
Then the second review comes 7 days after you first learned the material.
A week later.
Yep. And interestingly, this one needs even less time, Just about 5 minutes of focused review.
5 minutes. Okay. So a week later, another quick touch point, and there's a third one.
There is. The third review is recommended about 30 days after the initial learning.
A month later.
A month later. And again, the time commitment is minimal, just another 5-minute review.
Okay, let me just add that up in my head. 10 minutes first day, 5 minutes a week later, another 5 minutes a month later.
Yeah.
That's what, 20 minutes total?
Exactly. 20 minutes total review time spread out.
That's remarkable. For potentially like doubling or tripling how much you remember long term compared to not reviewing. That seems incredibly efficient.
It really is. And that's the core power of this. It's not about endless hours. It's about these strategic, brief check-ins with the material.
So why does this timing work?
Yeah.
Why those specific intervals, 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, and why such short durations? What's the science, the why behind it?
Well, the why really goes down to how memory works at a neurological level. When you learn something, your brain creates connections, right? Neural pathways. Initially, those connections can be pretty weak, pretty temporary. Reviewing the information, especially at these increasing intervals, it strengthens those connections.
Okay, like reinforcing them.
Precisely. It makes them more durable, more permanent. It increases the likelihood that the information gets properly encoded into your long-term memory.
It's like forging a path in the woods, maybe. The first time it's tough, but each time you walk it, it gets clearer, easier to follow.
That's a perfect analogy, yes. And like we said, this isn't just a good idea, it's backed by science. It aligns with this well-established theory called spaced repetition, or sometimes spaced retrieval.
Right, the terms you mentioned.
Yeah, that early work by the psychologist laid the groundwork, and tons of studies since then have confirmed it. Reviewing at increasing intervals boosts long-term memory and fights that forgetting curve.
It really flies in the face of that desire for a quick fix, doesn't it? That sort of magic bullet idea where you just absorb something once and it's there forever.
Absolutely. We all kind of wish for that, right? The instant knowledge download. But the reality is, lasting memory needs time. It needs repeated engagement.
It's about signaling to your brain, hey, this is important.
Exactly. These spaced reviews are those signals. Keep this information, strengthen this connection.
This is incredibly practical. So for anyone listening who feels overwhelmed, maybe by exams coming up or just a ton of information they need to learn for work, what's a good first step using this technique?
The absolute key is to start early. Don't wait. If you know you need this information in a month or 2 months, start the process now.
From the moment you first learn it.
Yes. The moment you first encounter the material, schedule in that first 10-minute review within 24 hours. Then put the 7-day and 30-day reminders in your calendar. Don't wait until the last minute to cram.
Right. Avoid the panic cramming session.
Exactly. By starting early and using spaced repetition, you're working with your brain's natural processes, not fighting against them desperately at the 11th hour.
This has been really enlightening. It's fascinating how understanding something seemingly negative, how we forget, can lead directly to such positive, effective strategies for actually learning.
It is pretty neat, isn't it? How this simple framework, just based on understanding our tendency to forget, gives us such a powerful tool.
So as you're listening, think about this. What are your current study habits or your memory techniques? What have you found actually works best for you when it comes to holding on to information?
Yeah, we're genuinely curious. We'd love to build a bit of a community of learners here. So please share your own tips, your experiences, maybe methods that have worked for you down in the comments section.
Definitely. What tricks have you found to boost your own memory? And, if you're now thinking, okay, remembering is key, but how do I even effectively absorb the information well in the first place?
Good point. Reading comprehension is step 1.
Right. Well, that YouTube channel we mentioned, Said Yoon's channel, he also have other videos specifically on effective reading techniques for better comprehension. Might be worth checking out as a next step.
Absolutely. Could be really valuable. Ultimately, it's about understanding how your memory operates naturally and then using that knowledge, strategically revisiting information.
Shifting from just passively consuming knowledge
to actively building real, lasting understanding.
So the final thought maybe is, with this understanding of how to work with the forgetting curve, not against it, what new areas of learning might this open up for you? Something to ponder.